Woo! Happy Friday, 6:06 a.m. I'm so glad that you're here this morning because we've got some hot news. Have you got your coffee? I am drinking a lot of coffee. Call me woke, because I am awake. I am awake. No, don't call me woke. That'd be offensive. Ketanji Brown Jackson. She comes up with this really lame excuse as to why grade school indoctrination, LGBTQ specifically indoctrination, is constitutional, or excuses to why that's constitutional is absolutely ridiculous. We're going to get to it. That's very important. There's a state. Can you guess what one? I love playing this game. Guess what blue state just passed a bill that puts criminal aliens at the top of the list for pardons and commutations? And I will say this, it's not Illinois, but Illinois, they actually passed bills to try to make it easier for illegal immigrants to change their names to avoid deportation. Now, this state, it's a blue state, this state is going to try to put these criminal aliens, you broke federal immigration law, so now I guess apparently you get special rights, which is absolutely ridiculous. They're going to try to boost those criminal aliens up to the top for pardons if they have deportation orders. So throw it into the comment section. You can also text me 309-451-9299. What blue state? Give me your best guess. Give me your best guess. I do want to get to this story. This is absolutely ridiculous. It's all about attacking masculinity. This is what this is all about. A man, he had to shoot a bear to save his wife and kids. Doesn't get much more heroic than that. And of course, his blue state government had him arrested for it. I've talked to several people who've been arrested here in the state of Illinois for simple self-defense, like clear evidence that this was self-defense, actually. Chad Berg, he ran for McLean County Board. Most recently, he ran for Normal Town Supervisor, and the Normal Police Department, eventually the judge said, I'm sorry for what happened to you, like this clear case of self-defense. But he was defending himself in his own yard, and he was the one who had stab wounds. And, your blue government, your blue state government, your blue city government, they went after the guy who was defending himself and his family. And he was the one who had the stab wounds to show it or to prove it. This guy, he went to go save his wife and kids from this bear, and he got arrested for it. Now he has to complete some sort of weird rehabilitation. Like rehabilitation of what? Being a man and protecting your family? I mean, I don't understand. So we're going to get to all of it. Go ahead, find me YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Ketanji Brown Jackson. I haven't talked about her in a long time, probably since she refused to define what a woman was. The left, they claim that they are the party of choices, which is not really true. They're actually the party of no choice. Okay. When it comes to, the choice to kill babies, they're all about that. Okay, but not school choice, not the choice to vaccinate your children. If you don't want to vaccinate your children, they're anti allowing you that choice. This is especially true when it comes to education, though. They're anti-school choice. They believe that school choice is evil. Really, at the crux of it, it's because they are going to be out of a job if you decide to take your kids to the best schools, and you choose what school to go to. A lot of these people would be out of jobs, and they'd have to actually work, okay, in these public schools, and they'd actually have to compete for your kids. And that's why they're anti-school choices, because they'd actually have to do something with their lives and compete. And I tell you all the time, the people who are in the public sector, they're the weirdos that were at the lunch table and they never really had any friends. And then they grew up, and now it's like the revenge of the nerds. And they are trying to tax you into oblivion and take your money. Okay, that's what that's who the people in the public sector are. They want to take your money and they want to take advantage of you. And when you start to say, no, that's not going to happen, we're going to choose where we put our kids in school, then they get really upset and they start to scream at the sky and they say things like school choice is evil. So parents are forced to either send their kids to failing public school or, of course, spend money on private school, which a lot of private schools have gotten inexpensive lately. I've actually just been doing some research of my own. I mean, there's private schools out there, $4,000 tuition. I mean, I know that's a good chunk of money, but it's not like 25,000, or it's not as expensive as it used to be, because these are becoming more popular and they're getting creative with it. Like they're doing pod schooling and Christian private schooling where, they're not trying to make a profit off of this, right? So yeah, it's getting more affordable to pull your kids out of public school. It's probably more affordable, and to homeschool them is like $500 a year or something crazy like that. It's super inexpensive. Um, of course, you'd have to go down from a dual income, which you might have to cancel your Netflix subscriptions. You might have to stop buying, brand new iPhones. But living modestly, I think, is probably more important, or is worth that sacrifice. Your Netflix subscription, canceling that, maybe going down to one car, right? And not having the top of the line iPhone. I would imagine that those things aren't as important as your child's education, right? So, I mean, there's a way to do it. I would say that parents, now more than ever, though, feel forced into this situation where they've got to either go to private school because they've got to be a dual income household, or go to public school. Nonetheless, public schools were never intended to become indoctrination camps for the left and for Democrats, and somebody should really inform Democrats of this. Like, hey, public school is never intended for to be indoctrination camps or propaganda arms of the Democrat Party. So a group of concerned and religiously diverse parents, okay, I'm talking Muslim, Catholic, Ukrainian Orthodox, a group of religiously diverse parents said, you know what? No, we're going to bring a case to the Supreme Court. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, I think, or a couple of days ago. We're going to bring this case to the Supreme Court. And they brought this case to the Supreme Court after the Board of Education. I think I gotta look this up. I think I'll look up where the school was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they brought this case, and the Board of Education said, look, you have no right to opt your kid out of LGBTQ story hour. Okay, that's literally what this is. It's LGBTQ indoctrination, but they're reading LGBTQ books. And this group of concerned parents said, no, we're going to bring a case to the Supreme Court. They believe that they should be able to opt their kids out of that sort of curriculum. And actually, the district believes that because the kids are enrolled in public school, the parents are no longer entitled to their children's education, and they consented the moment they enrolled their kids into public school. Similarly, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, she has this same take. A lower court, I gotta look up the state. I don't know why I'm not remembering it. I gotta look this up. But Ketanji Brown Jackson has the similar view of a lower court. So a lower court already ruled on this, and it goes up to the Supreme Court. And the lower court agreed with the school district in saying that they believe that because you enrolled your kids in public school, you already consented to the LGBTQ indoctrination, and you can't opt out of it. So let's take a listen here to Ketanji Brown Jackson and her justification for ruling that this is constitutional, the LGBTQ indoctrination at public schools, simply because the parents enroll their kids into it. Here we go.
And I guess I'm struggling to see how it burdens a parent's religious exercise if the school teaches something that the parent disagrees with. You have a choice. You don't have to send your kid to that school. You can put them in another situation. And I guess I'm struggling to see how it burdens a parent's religious exercise if the school teaches something that the parent disagrees with. You have a choice. You don't have to send your kid to that school.
Okay. Wow. She said it out loud. So this is the Montgomery County Board of Education. That's where this is at. Maryland. Okay. Maryland parents. Okay. Montgomery County Board of Education. There was obviously a case brought against them. A lower court had the similar feelings as Ketanji Brown Jackson here. I'm just curious if Ketanji Brown Jackson would have a similar take had the district mandated Bible courses. I doubt it. Had the teachers been reading the Christian Bible, right? Had they been reading the Christian Bible, I feel like her take here would be completely different. And the fact that this is the same justice, and I don't want you to forget this, this is the same justice who couldn't define what a woman was. If you don't believe me, well, just hear it for yourself. Here we go.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of
I'm not a biologist. Whatever, Ketanji. Okay, so some background here, because I know this sounds outrageous. And to be honest with you, I'm at a point right now where, parents should take notes. Now, this case, it's probably going to be ruled on, and it's probably going to go towards the side of the parents, okay, ultimately. But you as a parent should take note that, hey, there are Supreme Court justices right now who truly do believe that once you sign your kids over, once you enroll them in public school, you've signed them over, and you are no longer entitled to their upbringing or their moral upbringing, their religious upbringing. You no longer have a say in that. Okay, so take note, parents, and you do with that information what you want. If I was a parent and I was sending my kids to public school, I'd pull them out simply because at a Supreme Court level, you have a justice. This is a big deal who believes truly that once you enroll your children in public school, you are no longer entitled to their upbringing. That should tell you all you really need to know about your government. Pull them out. It's $500 a year to homeschool them, and you might have to give up your Netflix subscription or your iPhone or whatever, or your 3 cars or your lifestyle. You might have to sacrifice that a little bit because you're no longer on a dual income, but you have mom or dad stay home and homeschool the children, right? So according to Post Millennial, the parents sued the school after the board members removed their ability to opt their children out of the readings, the LGBTQ story hour, okay? They argue that their young children participating in this instruction is contrary to their parents' religious convictions, and it violates their free exercise clause. So exercising their religious freedoms, okay? So the board actually stated back in March of 2023 that notification would go out to parents before the LGBTQ story hour, before they read a book to the kids, and the parents would be able to opt their children out of those readings. But then they reversed course the following year, and they said, quote, "We're no longer going to provide notice, and we're no longer going to tolerate opt-outs as to these storybooks. We're going to force the kids to read these, and there's no longer going to be an opt-out option." And, I'm no legal expert, but I feel like this is pretty unconstitutional. It's not, what if this were a Bible? Okay, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, but because it's an LGBTQ book, the Board of Education is trying to shove it down the throats of these children. The petition to the Supreme Court cited a lower court's ruling on the matter, saying, quote, that parents essentially surrender their right to direct religious upbringing of their children by sending them to public schools, which contradicts centuries, folks, of history and traditions, uphold, those traditions uphold what the decision tears down. Okay, so the traditions of allowing parents to be involved in their kids' education, allowing parents to exercise their religion freely, and they should be able to protect their child's innocence. Okay, the books that they're reading is about, it was actually, I looked at one of the book titles and skimmed through it, thumbed through it. It was about 2 young kids, like 6-year-olds, okay? And they were in a romantic same-sex relationship. Okay, there was 2 6-year-olds like in this book, and they were, in a romantic relationship, which is just wacko. Like, 6-year-olds are not in romantic relationships, heterosexual or homosexual relationships. They just don't get it. Why that's crucial to the child's curriculum, and like whatever happened to just teaching math and reading. According to the Supreme Court of the United States blog, the SCOTUS blog, Justice Sonia Sotomayor had a similar insane position. Justice Sotomayor echoed Kagan's concerns about, Kagan is another Supreme Court justice, about potentially the broad scope of the parent's position, noting that there have been objections to, of course, biological material about women who have been recognized for achievement outside of the home. So, in some religion, like at the end of the day, they shouldn't be teaching any of this stuff. Public school, what it was actually originally designed for was to mass produce good workers and to get them a basic level of education and create great workers. Okay, which is another reason why I say homeschool or be involved in your child's schooling and allow that creativity to flourish. Public school is actually designed to allow for zero creativity because it was actually created by, I think it was the Rockefeller. I'd have to look this up, but it was pushed out by billionaire guy who wanted to create more workers. Okay, so they claim that they're anti-corporation and anti-billionaire, tax the rich, tax the rich. The entire public school system was so that way more rich guys could get richer, and that you're not creating entrepreneurs, you're creating a great worker. Sit down, shut up, face the front. 9 to 5, like the hours are even like similar to that of an 8-hour workday. Okay, so they're trying to breed corporate-y type workers in a public school setting. And I don't know whatever happened to just doing that and going back to what public school is actually intended to do. Why don't we do that? But now they're teaching, that women, they're recognized for their achievement outside the home. And then they're kind of getting into, and they're muddying the waters here about interfaith marriage, immodest dress, books featuring divorce, and Sonia Sotomayor, she had concerns because what if the parents say that, hey, recognizing women for their achievement, like if you teach about Amelia Earhart, okay, if you teach about what she's done in history, that could step on somebody's religious freedoms. Maybe, more Islamic faith believe that women shouldn't be recognized for those types of achievement, or they shouldn't be, flying aircraft or something like that. And you're kind of stepping all over their religious rights. This is why the public school model, just in general, is a bad idea. So then they kind of proved my point here by their concerns about public school and, how they're going to be stepping on the toes of the parents and their religious convictions. I got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. This is really important stuff because this case is going to be heard. Most likely the case is going to go in favor of the parents, but who knows? Who knows? Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends, your normie friends, get them up to date on all things real news, things that the mainstream media isn't covering. Good morning. Happy Friday. I love Fridays. We are going to come back. Like I said, Sonia Sotomayor and Kagan, who's another justice, they cited these concerns. If you teach about Amelia Earhart going up in the aircraft, that's kind of teaching children about women and their achievements, and perhaps maybe of an Islamic faith they don't really want. They're like a conservative Islamic faith. They don't want their children learning about women's achievements. Okay. And that could step on the toes of the parents. It's a religious conviction that they have, that they don't believe women should be flying aircraft or, being recognized for these achievements outside of the home. And this is just why public school just is a terrible model. Okay. And I'm glad that they're kind of raising these questions because we really need to know. Where she queried, where will the parents draw the line beyond requiring schools to inform them of the curriculum and allow them to opt out? In other words, she believes that parents should have zero input. Okay, so she says it's hard to tell that line. Okay, so we don't know where that line is for a lot of parents, and there's going to be a lot of different diverse religious backgrounds or whatever, and we don't know where that line is. So essentially what she says here is that the parents should have zero input in their students' education, despite them funding it with their property tax dollars. I don't see the big deal where we can't just, have parents. We've done it for how many years at this point? Public school. And it's always sort of worked. It's starting to dismantle right now because they've gotten away from teaching math and reading, and they're all about the cultural and the gender studies and things like that. And it's just a bizarre world to live in now. But if we were to just get back to that and get parents more involved in their teaching, what's the issue with saying and being in communication with their teacher? Hey, what are you teaching them? Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to opt them out of this curriculum. I don't see the problem with that. I really don't. What's so hard to do that? Like, the teacher should be respectful of that, and they should be trained on how to deal with that when they go get their certifications. So they pay property taxes. They're providing a product. Okay, at the end of the day, they're providing the education of their children, and they should be held accountable for that product. Okay, that's really what this is. And essentially what she's saying here is that they have no reason, or they shouldn't have any input in their kids' education, despite the paying of property taxes and despite you're paying for a product. And that's tyrannical. That's not holding your government accountable despite you providing property taxes for them to even exist. Okay, so the left is obviously against parental rights. Like I said, I think that the Supreme Court is going to be sympathetic to the group of Maryland parents. They're the party against school choice, they're the party against parental rights. They demand that your child learn everything contrary to your religious beliefs, and they find the nerve to claim you had a choice. You had a choice. Send them to public school, or raise them up the way you want them. And at this point, they're saying this out loud, and you should take this for what they're saying. Like, take them at their word. They truly do believe that they're their children, and they're the ones who are tasked with their upbringing, not you. Okay, so you really can't make this level of insanity up. To be honest, you do have a choice, and I would say pull them out, because it's very clear that we've gotten so far away from what public school has been intended for, or what public school is intended for, that it's no longer a viable option. Like, it's no longer an option. You've got to pull them out, because you're paying money for a product that you don't like. Okay, so what do you do when you pay money for a product that you don't like? You stop paying for that product, right? All right, so we're going to get to more of that. Completely insane. This blue state is trying to boost up the illegal immigrants for pardons and commutations in this state if they have like a deportation order. Good morning. I appreciate you being here, Christo. We are going to get to that. We're also going to get to this guy who killed a bear. He killed a bear because he didn't want his wife and kids to die. Okay, so he shot at this bear, and now he's being arrested for that. Well, they threatened arrest. They didn't actually arrest him. They let him go on a warning, and then they sentenced him to rehabilitation. I don't know what they're trying to cure him of, his instinct to take care of his family and protect his kids and his pregnant wife from getting mauled by a bear. Yeah, so they're trying to rehabilitate him from his masculinity or masculine urges, which is protection and instinct to protect his family. They want to get rid of that, strip that down to the bone, and feminize men. So they're punishing him for being a masculine man. That's what's going on here. Let's get to it. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Man, I love coffee. It's so good. It's so good. I've got I don't know why, but I've got this Folgers coffee. And I've always been a Folgers girl, love Folgers. And I know it's kind of like, the cheap stuff, but I don't know. It just hits different. I feel like it could power like an end, like it's just like so much caffeine. I love it. It's bold, it's rich. I love coffee. I also love the news. There's more news ahead. I do want to get to this insane state. Can you guess what one? It's a blue state, where they have passed a bill prioritizing criminal illegal aliens. So they broke federal immigration law, which gives them special rights to hear their pardons and their commutations first. Okay, so it's unclear why they're more worthy than American citizens getting in their pardons and commutations heard. Uh, but like I said, there's not a ton. Like, do you need more evidence that these people don't represent you and they represent foreign nationals? They'd rather represent foreign nationals than you, the American citizen. I don't think that you need any more evidence. If you listen to this show, you've gotten plenty of it. So we're going to get to that, but I want to wrap up the Supreme Court decision. Like I said, Justice Sotomayor, she and Kagan, they were worried about the potential scope, the broad scope of parents' positions, noting that there have been many objections to biographical material about women who have been recognized for achievement outside of the home. Some religions, they don't uplift women like for achievement. So, for example, Amelia Earhart going up the plane, whatever. If you teach that, then you're kind of going against that religious belief, as well as books featuring divorce, interfaith marriage, immodest dress, things like that are used in the public school setting all of the time. And she, essentially said, "Where's the line going to be drawn?" And are they going to allow for parents to opt out of that curriculum as well? Because then it starts to get out of hand. Now you're starting to see, yes, they get to have a say in your children's upbringing, and you don't. And I don't see what would be so hard about this. Like, if you're working with the teacher and you have strong religious convictions, you should be able to see that curriculum. Why? Oh, I don't know. You pay property taxes, and the entire existence of the system relies on your tax dollars, the money they take from you. So, in other words, what this woman says is they shouldn't have any say. They should have zero input in the child's upbringing and curriculum, although they pay, despite the fact that they pay property taxes for the entire thing to exist. So, like I said, the left is a party against choices. They're a party against parental rights. This is a party who believes that the child's religious beliefs are theirs, like to bring them up in. And they have a nerve claiming that, "Oh, it's your choice to send them to public school." I mean, it is. And I definitely recommend you listen to what they say out loud with their mouths. They truly believe that because you enrolled them in public school, that they're no longer your kids. This is evident by the fact that you've got District 87 now talking about putting a health clinic in the school. What's next? Are they feed them like 3 squares a day practically? I mean, it's like prison. They're going to probably give them a cot next, and they're entitled to your child's every single move and how your child is brought up. That's what they want to do in this public school system. I don't know what's so hard to see about this. I mean, they've gone so as far as to, be the health provider, the meal provider, the education provider. Like, they're providing for all your kids' needs. Of course, they're going to say, "Oh, well, the kid's ours." So I'd say pull them out. And clearly, you've got Supreme Court justices, multiple of them, Sotomayor, Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson. They believe that once you enroll your child into a public school, that's consent to give the public school teachers and the administration the reins to bring your child up, and they're going to be the ones who raise your children. So nonetheless, given that our founders they put the religious freedom clause, like it was so important, they put in the First Amendment. Okay, so the Supreme Court of the United States most likely are going to side with the parents on this one. The Maryland parents who want to be able to opt their elementary age students, their kids, out of this instruction with LGBTQ themes. And like I said, I thumbed through one of the books that Maryland, this Montgomery County Board of Education, like there was a bunch of titles. I thumbed through it. There was one book that was about children, like ages like 6. They were depicted as young children, and they were in some sort of homosexual romantic relationship. I don't know why kids need that. I really don't, because I feel like, yeah, like you can teach kids compassion and respect for everyone, regardless of, their insignificant preferences, without forcing them to compromise their religious beliefs. Okay. So the parents argued that the local school board districts refusal to give them that choice to opt their children out violates their religious beliefs, therefore their constitutional right to freely exercise their religion. During nearly 2.5 hours of oral argument, a majority of the justices do seem to agree with them, the Maryland parents, with several justices questioning whether there would even be any harm to just simply allowing the parents to excuse their children from the instruction. Is there a true harm to the teacher to work with the parent to excuse them from some curriculum? I don't think so, especially considering that that parent is paying your salary. They're the boss, okay, of you, public school teacher. They're your boss, and you have to listen to what your boss says. Okay, that's the way this goes. And someone ought to remind the left that, look, it's not hard to teach kids to be compassionate and respectful of everyone. You don't need to read them books about, kids having same-sex romantic relationships. You don't need all of that. You just teach them, hey, we respect everyone. Hey, we're compassionate to everyone. And that's it. That's all you got to say. And to be honest with you, why don't you just teach them math and reading? Why are you teaching them how to be a good person? Okay, it's really not up to you to do that. Let's get back to the basics of what public school, and I don't even like the basics of what public school is supposed to be, which is another argument as to why you should pull them out. Public school, the basics to what it should be is you churn out good employees. That's what it is. Billionaires created the system so that way you'd go into public school and you'd be a great product for corporate America. Okay, that's what public school is, and that's what it was designed to do and intended to do. We need to get back to the original design and intention of public school. And if we did that, I guarantee you most parents would probably pull their kids out of school. Anyway, so I want to get to this. Don't know why this happens, but foreign nationals, because they broke federal immigration law, they get special treatment. They get special privileges at the expense of Americans just because they broke federal immigration laws. I don't know why the left believes that, because of the breaking of federal immigration laws, that somehow makes you better than the American citizen. But this couldn't be more evident than in Washington, the state of Washington. Okay, so Washington state Democrats have passed a bill prioritizing illegal immigrants, criminal illegal immigrants, for criminal illegal immigrants. So they've committed a crime on top of breaking federal immigration law. They're throwing them to the top of the list to receive pardons and commutations. What? I'm going to be right back with that story. Coming up a little bit later, I do want to talk about a guy who shoots a bear to save his wife and kids. And of course, this blue state government had him arrested for it. Why? Because they're attacking masculinity. They wanted to punish him for being a masculine man and acting on his instinct to save his family. I'll be right back. Hey, good morning. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Parents need to get more involved with the school system, show up to board meetings, and Illinois would encourage anyone, I would encourage anyone who wants to make a difference to run for public office and run for school board, show up. Yes. If we want to fix this system, but I'm at a point right now where I don't even really want to fix the system. I just say pull them out and we just do our own pod teaching, and they failed us. And ultimately, if we pull out all of our kids, the school will shut down, right? If you pull out all, they're no longer going to have enrollment numbers. There really won't be a justification for taxing you into oblivion, although their enrollment numbers have been decreasing and they've continued to tax you into oblivion and increase your taxes despite the record low enrollment. Despite that, they are still taking your tax dollars. But if we were to pull all of our kids out, they'd have no choice but to shut down the schools. And then we do it ourselves, private school teaching. I know that this makes people very, very uncomfortable, but I'm willing to, be third rail in this. Drop the Netflix subscription, get rid of the car payment, right? Go down to one car, have one income household. It's going to be tough. It's going to be not living a lavish lifestyle. Okay. And it's not going to be easy, but they've made it clear. Okay. You have Supreme Court justices at this high of a level in government. Like, it doesn't get much higher than that. Supreme Court justice, President of the United States. You have people in very, very high places saying, quote, the parents had a choice, and because they've enrolled their child into public school, they've consented to being taken out of the upbringing of the child. Okay, so they're not being a part of the upbringing of the child. That tells me all I really need to know is that no matter what we do at the lower level, and I agree with you 100%, Christo, like, yes, show up, run for public office, change your local district, do whatever you can, but the system, I don't know how much you can do. It starts from the bottom up, and you got to change it. But I don't know. You've got sitting Supreme who are there until death, right? Until they decide, or they decide to resign. But they're there forever. Okay, life term. Okay, so these Supreme Court justices at this top level, and you've got 3 of them on there. So at any point, if we lose the majority on the and Amy Coney Barrett is not by any means a conservative judge. A lot of these judges are not what I would like them to be, but at any point we could lose that majority, and all it takes is one Supreme Court ruling. Even this one, we're not out of the woods yet. I told you that it seems like a majority of them are in favor of the Maryland parents here. But we're not out of the woods yet. If they come down with this ruling, that is going to have monumental consequences for the way public school is viewed, okay, and the way your public school administration and teachers view public schooling. If they came down with this ruling and said, well, the parents had a choice to enroll them into public school, and by them enrolling them in public school, they forfeited their parental rights. If they came down with that ruling and they didn't side with the Maryland parents, that is monumental. That changes the outlook of public school forever. And we're this close to a ruling like that changes the view of public school forever. Even if it doesn't happen with this case, it could happen in a case or two from now. And at the bottom line is, we've got to change the system. I really do think that we need to just get rid of it. The system is unfixed. I don't want to say it's completely unfixable. You should do what you can. Run for office, run for school board. But at this point, I think that the system is so broken. Think about this. We have 3, not just one, radical Ketanji Brown Jackson. We have Sonia Sotomayor, and then we have the other Justice Kagan. We've got the 3 of them, okay, and they're there for life. And yeah, I don't know. I think that the system's completely broken. I'm not saying you don't run for school board. You be a part of the process. You do what you can, and you show up. You don't give up, right? However, you got to keep it in the back of your mind, like, hey, maybe I should pull them out. Maybe I do deal with these like small little sacrifices, like getting rid of the second car, lowering my standard of living, because what's more important, my Netflix subscription or my child's education, my second car or my child's education, and upbringing, and keeping them in the values that I want them to have, or the values that I believe that they should have. What's more important? So yeah, I'm just going to be honest with you, like, I think that's where the tough conversations that parents need to start having, because we're very close to a ruling, and this ruling would change the way we view public school forever. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in Friday morning. Friday, Steals and Deals. Deal goes live 9 a.m. today. Check it out, cities929.com. You click on the Steals and Deals logo. Right now, you can get Paran Indian Restaurant gift certificates, $20 for half off. So you pay $10 and you get the $20 gift certificate. This is a deal. You got to go get it right now, cities929.com. You can also, while you're there, nominate a farmer and feed a farmer. Cities 92.9, along with Corn Belt Energy, the good guys at Barker Chevy, Compier Financial, and Lingo Precision. We are feeding the farmers again this year. Nominate your farmer at cities929.com. We'll select them. If we select them, we go out into the field and we deliver Freaky Fast Jimmy John sandwiches to them while they're working out in the fields. Really brings a smile to their face. You gotta nominate a farmer you love. And also while you're there, read about our next cruise stop. You can get a Caribbean cruise. This is the best giveaway Cities 92.9 has ever done. I'm not kidding you. So you can register at a cruise stop, become a finalist. All this spring, we're taking entries, and then we're going to be drawing 2 finalists at every single stop. Okay. And then at our grand prize giveaway on the 26th, we're going to pull the person for the Caribbean cruise, or the people too. So you must be 21 years of age to enter. And we're going to do 2 finalists at each stop. 2 finalists at each stop. The first finalist, 30 minutes, and then towards the end of the broadcast is a 2-hour live broadcast that we're doing at these stops. The next one, May 5th, Deep in Tap, from 5 to 7. All right, I do want to get to this story. Yes, Washington State. I can't believe that this blue state is doing this. They are prioritizing criminal illegal aliens. So on top of the crime of illegally entering this country, they also committed some other crime, and they're sitting in our prison system for whatever reason. I don't know why that even exists. Gabriel Calixto, he sat in the IDOC for 2 years or something like that. He got his sentence reduced. Gabriel Calixto is the one who allegedly murdered Emma Schaefer. He's on the run. I'm pretty sure he went back to Mexico or whatever. Gabriel Calixto. But on top of that, like before allegedly murdering Emma Schaefer, he had kidnapped a girl and served in the IDOC, the Illinois Department of Corrections, for kidnapping a girl, Katie O'Brien. He got that pled down to unlawful restraint. He's also seen in pictures with Dick Durbin, Senator Dick Durbin, who's not seeking re-election, by the way. Juliana Stratton is amongst, Lauren Underwood is amongst the names being floated to seek or to run as a candidate for U.S. Senate there. Darren LaHood is also considering, he's in the consideration of being the next senator. Look, I don't know, whoever it is, I would love to see Darren Bailey running. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think Darren LaHood needs to keep that. I think he's in the 17th congressional district. He needs to keep that seat, okay? And I think that we need to get a conservative Christian guy in there to serve the state of Illinois at the U.S. Senate level. Anyway, so Dick Durbin, he's pictured with Gabriel Calixto. Gabriel Calixto served in the IDOC for a couple of years for unlawful restraint. He got the kidnapping charge pled down, which I don't even know how that's possible, because he brought a noose to a hotel room or motel room, kidnapped her, brought her to a motel room, said, threatened her. I mean, I don't even know how this guy got this pled down and only served a couple of years. He was here on an expired DACA. Like he was illegal. Okay, he shouldn't have been here. And he was DACA recipient, and and once that conviction happened, he was here illegally, and then he went and he allegedly murdered Emma Schaefer. They haven't been able to grab him, from what I understand. Absolutely insane. This is mental. Washington State Democrats passed this bill for illegal alien criminals to get into the front of the line. So somebody like Gabriel Calixto, after serving time for Katie O'Brien, they would be able to get in the front of the line. He would be for a pardon or a commutation. They hope it will make it harder for ICE to deport them after, prison. They hope it'll make it harder for ICE to deport them, if they pardon them and get them out of the prisons, because here's what ICE is doing. They're going into the prisons and they're deporting the illegal aliens who have the criminal records. So what's going on in Washington State, they're trying to throw them up at the front of the line, the illegal immigrants, to avoid deportation. So, according to the Post Millennial, Washington state passed a bill that would move illegal immigrant criminals to the top of the list for pardons and commutations. This is as the Trump administration enhances nationwide immigration enforcement efforts. House Bill 1131, introduced by Democrats, passed 50 to 46. All Republican lawmakers obviously voted against the bill. 7 Democrats opposed the bill. Only 7 Democrats. The text of the bill reads like this. Let me read this, and then I'm going to go take a quick break. But you got to come back because we're going to finish up this story, and then we're going to get to the guy who killed the bear for his family and is being arrested for it. Absolutely insane. So you would think, oh, here's the text of the bill. Here we go. If a petitioner indicates in the petition an urgent need for a pardon or commutation, including but not limited to a pending deportation order or deportation proceeding, the board shall consider expedited review of the application. What? Are you kidding me? I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat City's 92.9, the news and chocolate, living to normal. Hey, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Kids are lost until we totally change the education system. It's not school that prepares kids for life anywhere. Anymore. At best, it really does bad training for useless college degrees. Exactly. You're exactly right, Chris. I mean, they've got to change the whole thing. And really, what should be happening is, you know what they do at college? You find a field that you really enjoy. So, for example, I've learned Pythagorean theory. I knew, since I was a little kid, that I loved to write. And most kids don't know what they really like, but they should try all kinds of different things. And this, Pythagorean theorem or calculating the slope and things that might work for maybe like an engineer or somebody going into those professions. But we should really specialize education, and it's hard to do that at a mass level, where we and I know that people it's so interesting. People can't wrap their heads around a one income family. They can't even fathom that, which is so sad, and why I think Donald Trump being in office is really, really important, and somebody who shows fiscal restraint, okay, and is a fiscal conservative in the presidency, and we need more fiscal conservatives in Congress. Who understand that the taxation has gotten absolutely ridiculous, okay? At the end of the day, if you have an income, a dual income household, let's just say you both make $100,000 between the two of you, $100,000 a year, okay? Between the two of you, dual income, okay? And you get $20,000 taken from you from taxes. That's insanity, okay? But you can still live on that, okay? Now let's do a little bit harder, a little bit lower, okay? Say you both make between the two of you 60,000. Okay, then you have 20,000 taken away from you. A little bit different picture, okay? So still can do it. You still can. Now here's the problem is you're not going to be able to have two cars if you're in the $60,000 range, both your combined income, and then you get $20,000 taken away from you in taxes, or it would probably be less than $100,000. You might get $10,000 taken away from you. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling off numbers, hypothetical numbers. But this is what happens. Your income is cut significantly due to taxation, federal income tax. And that is exactly why Donald Trump has implemented these tariffs, because way back when we had a healthy balance, so 70-30 would be that healthy balance where 70% of the revenue coming in is from the taxpayers, and then 30% is coming from these other countries. We could probably roll back the federal taxes, the federal income tax, and other taxes as well. Really, honestly, property taxes are unconstitutional. You should be at some point able to own your property. With property taxes, you pay on property taxes. If you try not paying your property taxes, they'll come in and take you out of your home that you paid for. Okay, so that's wrong. That's anti, you are entitled to property, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, property. You can't have your Fourth Amendment, your property seized from you. Okay, it's just totally unconstitutional. The concept of property taxes. So we should get rid of that. The only tax that makes sense. Here's what it is, and the pursuit of happiness. You can even make the argument that hey, you should be able to pursue happiness, and it's hard for you to do that. For example, happiness would be taking care of your children at home and being being at home with your children and spending time with them. When they tax you into oblivion, it's hard to do that, so you can't pursue that happiness. When they're taking your wages from you, quite literally, your income taxes. So the only one that makes sense is sales tax. We should have maybe a higher rate of sales tax, a little higher rate of sales tax, and that should be the primary taxation. If you look back at 1776, the Boston Tea Party, that was, throwing the tea because they didn't want to pay the taxes on the damn tea. Okay. But that was the only taxes. Okay. So we've gotten a long way from those people. I mean, they were, losing their minds over the damn tea tax. Could you imagine if they were here today? Like, we are taxed on the roads. We're taxed on the roads. Like in some states, a mileage tax has been implemented. Okay. In some states, in this state, we've got gas. So we're taxed on the roads we drive. We're taxed on the gas we put in our cars. We're taxed on the cars we buy. We're taxed on the income that we buy the cars with. We're taxed on the houses, the property which we park the car. I mean, everything that has to do with money is taxed, and we've gotten a long way away from what we're supposed to be doing. So we're going to be back for our radio friends. I'm going to tease a couple of headlines, then we're going to come back and talk about them. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Coming up, you won't want to miss it. We're going to wrap up this story about Washington State. They passed this bill, like I said. Almost all the Democrats voted for it. Only 7 Democrats opposed this bill. The reading of the bill is this: if a petitioner indicates in a petition an urgent need for a pardon or commutation, including but not limited to a pending deportation order or deportation proceeding, the board shall consider expedited review of the application. I'm having trouble seeing why there is a dire need for foreign nationals to get special privileges over Americans. Why are Americans second thought? When did this happen? When did we start representing foreign nationals over American citizens? And not just foreign nationals. These are foreign nationals who, on top of the crime of entering the country illegally, they committed more crimes. So you would think that, even if the left believes no human is illegal and they deserve special privileges and special rights simply because they crossed the border, right? That the no human is illegal wouldn't apply to those, of course, who have, beat people up, felony assault, murder, have broken more laws on top of breaking the federal immigration law, crossing through an illegal port of entry. Okay, but if to them that it just makes them double down. They're like, no, we are going to represent foreign nationals, and specifically, we're going to represent foreign nationals who kill people or who commit crimes on top of illegally entering the country. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Absolutely insane to me. It's wild. I got to take a quick break, or quick coffee break. Hold on. Okay. Smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. I'm sorry. I need to drink some of this because I am it's Friday. If I don't have my coffee, I'm a nut. So you wouldn't want to watch the show if I didn't have my coffee. I'll be honest with you. I've got to give it up. I do. I got to give up some of it. I have such an incredible caffeine intake. It's insane. So I'm going to take enough caffeine to power a jet engine. All right. So we're going to get back to this. They say no human being is illegal. No human being. Surely surely if they commit murder, they're illegal. No, they double down and they say, yeah, even if you've committed murder, even if you've illegally entered the country, committed murder on top of that, we will go to extreme lengths to defend you and to provide you special privileges that no American even gets. So the American criminals, they don't get the special privilege of being thrown to the front of the line to hear their pardons or commutation applications. This is on the wrong side of history. You are on the wrong side of history. Those 50 plus or 50 people who voted for this thing, you are on the wrong side of history, my friends. We are going to get to this guy who was arrested, okay, or well, they took him and they were going to charge him, but they wound up dropping the charges. I think that he ultimately got off with a warning, but his name is Todd Topics, and he shot a bear. Okay, so he shot a bear to protect his family, and of course, the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, they in Connecticut. This is a Connecticut man. They went after him. He got a call from this agency, and they let him off with a warning, but threatened arrest. We're going to charge him. So this is absolutely wild. And really what this is, at the end of the day, it's an attack on masculinity. They want to stop masculine men in their tracks. They want to demonize and not uplift men who do things like this. At the end of the day, that's what this is about. And they want to take every instinct a man has and crumble it up. And because if you do that, then you've destroyed America. And the left wants to destroy America. And the way they're going to do it is by attacking the family. And how do you attack the family? You attack the head. You attack the man. Okay. And you demonize the man and all of his instincts, and you make him question his instincts of protecting his family. So we're going to do this story, and then we're going to get back to Nina Jankowicz. You guys remember Nina Jankowicz? I like to call her Nina Skankowitz. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got a cold. Not Jankowitz, but Skankowitz. No, I'm just kidding. So she is back. She's back. So Nina Jankowicz, she was the disinformation disinformation czar. Sorry. Disinformation czar. Kamala Harris was the border czar. Nina Jankowicz. She now I'm gonna say that, and I can't say that on air. There's kids listening. But she disappeared for quite some time. Okay, and she disappeared shortly after the Democrat Party's desire and the billionaires' desire, the billionaires who control the Democrat Party, their desire to control what is and is not allowed on social media clashed with the First Amendment, and people were outraged by that. And we called out Nina Jankowicz and we shut pretty much down this media. What was it? The Ministry of Truth. That's what she was going to head up for the Joe Biden administration, and we shut that down very, very quickly. We really stood up against that. But she has resurfaced in Europe, and now she's attacking the president, calling for the European Union to hold the line against free speech. Like, hey, you guys should be the ones who, stop so-called misinformation. Disinformation. So we're gonna get to that here as well. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Nina Jankowicz. God, I thought she was gonna just go away. I thought we destroyed her on the internet. Made it to where she couldn't come back. I am going to play some of the clips, actually, because there was a clip I did want to get to of Nina Jankowicz where she sings. It's like a Mary Poppins spinoff. It's so weird. It really freaks me out. Here it is. I love it. The attack on masculinity. Yes, we are going to be talking about that here on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk, Blue Normal, Connecticut, man. I've just gotten a lot of national stories that have come across my desk today. Not a ton of local, but we are going to be doing some interviews next week with some people who live in the Essex subdivision. So, as I said, this week, Normal is wanting to build some multifamily housing and disrupt this single family housing residential area. And this is just truly tragic because it's going to really change up that area and it's going to destroy the neighborhood. And one thing that Normal residents that I've always talked to, the reason why people really love Normal and don't want to move is because it has like a small town feel with these tiny little neighborhoods like Collie Ridge, Beach, Shelbourne. It's on the corner of Shelbourne and Beach. This Essex development. So they're really upset about this, the citizens who live there, and I totally understand why, because this is going to bring down your property values. This was supposed to be single family zoning. They abruptly rezoned it for multifamily housing right in the heart of the single family neighborhood. And I've told you multiple times, the Democrats, they want to destroy your way of life. Okay, they want to destroy American culture, and the American culture is that you live in the house with the white fence and the picket fence, and you have the the golden retriever and the two kids. Okay, they want to destroy that. They want to make these 15-minute smart cities, and they want to disrupt your tranquil lifestyle. They want to increase traffic. They want to also increase crime. They want to destroy America. So Normal's leadership appears to be kind of unresponsive to these concerns. Nobody's really bringing up these concerns. So enter stage left, Cities 92.9. That's where we come in because there's a lot of citizens and residents who are upset by this, and we cover, news that nobody wants to really cover. We cover, hey, if you're not being heard, if the mainstream news doesn't want to broadcast your concerns, we'll broadcast it right here because we are pro listener, we are pro normal resident, we are pro regular taxpayer. So yes, we will be adversarial with the government, and we're going to allow you to come on. So the citizens, they're going to be joining me next week. We're doing it'll be around 7:00 every single morning next week for a little bit with each few residents from the area. And one thing that you need to know, Mercy Davidson, there is this email that came in. One resident emailed Mercy Davidson asking her to arrange a meeting between the residents that live there in that subdivision and the developer. And this was her response. She said, "Our process does not require it, so the town can't compel him, the developer, to have extra meetings outside of the public process. I'm happy to talk with you over the phone if you'd like to discuss." And that is what Mercy Davidson said. So there is not going to be conversations between the developer and the residents. They want to request things, obviously, of this developer. It's coming to their neighborhood. It's going to impact their property values. And, I'm sure a lot of those residents in that area are thinking to themselves, man, I really was considering moving from Normal and from Illinois. I should have moved a couple of years ago when my property value wasn't going to be completely plummeted because of this multifamily. I think it's like 3 floors or something like that, this Essex housing development. So there is a planning commission hearing set for May 8th. If you oppose the project, obviously show up, let your leaders know about that. Make your voices heard. We are going to be featuring a lot of those residents on the show next week, so you won't want to miss it. Tune in every morning at around 7:00 next week for a few days in the beginning of the week. We're going to be featuring Normal residents. Why? Because we care about you. I really care about the Normal residents and what you feel and what you're dealing with, because we're pro-taxpayer and we're pro-citizen and we're pro-listener. So find me on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, do what you can to tell your friends about Cities 92.9. All right, before I took a break, I was telling you about the attack on masculinity. Okay. Did I finish up that bill? I think I did. Yeah, I pretty much finished up that bill. There was a bill in Washington State. This was incredibly predictable of Washington State. They, of course, um, don't want law-abiding citizens to be safer. They want to put criminals back out on the street. This is a pardon commutation. They're throwing the illegals in the front of the line for a pardon or a commutation because they want to avoid deportation, or they want to avoid having these people deported under Trump's administration and under ICE. The left pretends to be on the side of compassion here, but they're actually putting the most vulnerable people at risk, and they're uplifting, quite literally, criminal illegal aliens. So on top of the crime of illegally entering the country, they have committed other crimes, and they want to pardon them first over American citizen criminals because they broke federal immigration law. I don't know why that automatically gives you special privilege, but it's absolutely insane. So I want to get to this story, actually. This man, attack on masculinity. This man, he shoots a bear, okay? Any human being who's threatening your family, you're going to eliminate the threat as a man, okay? And I get it, shooting a human or that's threatening to kill your family or threatening your family in some sort of way or defending your family against a human. I understand how sometimes that might be a legal issue. Sometimes it's a little gray, so I understand how that could be a legal issue. Now, I don't know how in the world this is a legal issue. Shooting an animal that could maul your family, that's a no-brainer to me. Okay, but I guess this was a legal issue for a Connecticut man who was arrested by the state Environmental Protection Department. Okay, so this is the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection in Connecticut. His name is Todd. He shot a bear who got within feet of his kids, and they were playing out in the front of the house there. Okay, so and this is what happens when you disrupt the ecosystem, and you don't the climate activists, okay, they are they're all anti-trophy hunting and things like that. No, you do have to hunt bears. Yes, you do have to hunt coyotes. I'm not saying go out there and kill them all, right? But there should be hunting that takes place, so that way these populations don't overrun these communities. And that's probably what's going on here. They probably outlawed hunting bears, and the bear population has gotten insane to the point where they are getting into people's yards, around people's kids. So yeah, like I said, it's always permissible in my eyes, taking down a human being who's threatening your family, self-defense, right? It's always legal in my eyes, but sometimes it kind of depends on how many Democrats have been elected to office. I remember having Chad Burke on the show. He had stab wounds quite literally all over his body. He was defending himself and his family late at night. He was a habitual stabber, actually was accused of threatening people on ISU's campus with a knife prior to this altercation with Chad. And I'll never forget it, because this is actually what really opened my eyes. The town of Normal, right, demonized him. Lizzie Johnson questioned him when he tried to become an appointed member of the McLean County Board, questioned him about this altercation and made him look like he was the criminal. But it's like, wait a second. I was the one defending myself and my family. He put him like in a chokehold, and he was like stabbing him quite literally, the assailant here. And he was demonized for trying to protect his family. So it's an attack on masculinity, and it kind of depends on how many Democrats are elected in your area, if they're going to, make it a legal issue for you, if you protect your family. All right, let's play this clip. This is the bear, the man who was arrested. Take a listen. Here we go.
Reminder to stay bear aware. Today, state officials are reminding people about increased activity and sometimes the dangers we see this time of year with bears. Owen Kingsley is your reporter live in Burlington this morning with more on an exclusive story about a family's close call.
Oh, that's right. This is the time of year that we see bears coming up, waking up from that winter-long hibernation and becoming much more active. Now, one man in Bethlehem tells us that he came face to face with a bear that he found in his garage and not far from his children. Todd Topics was awoken in August by his pregnant wife after a bear came within feet of his two kids. He says the bear grabbed a few bags and was chased up a tree by their dog. When the bear didn't back down, Topics fired a few warning shots, and the bear ran into the woods. The next day, he realized he actually shot the bear unintentionally after a neighbor reported the dead bear to police. He was caught in a tough situation between self-defense and breaking the law. Topics was arrested by Connecticut's Department of Energy Environmental Protection 2 weeks later. Some state officials have said Topics was justified in protecting his family, according to a 2023 law that outlines when you're allowed to kill a bear in self-defense.
We were all threatened. It entered our home, and I had no idea why Deep ended up charging me for this.
Deep says they are not commenting on this case, but as bears do seem to, rather appear to be becoming more and more active all around our state, Deep as well as Audubon, Connecticut are planning to help warn residents about bear activity increasing this time of year. They'll be doing that a little later this morning here in
Okay, so there was the local report, and what you didn't see if you weren't on YouTube, there was, Ring doorbell looking camera, like he had surveillance camera on the property there where he lived. The bear was in the garage. I mean, he entered the premises. I mean, the bear was like straight up on his property. Okay, so there was no gray line here. He entered the premises. And Todd, he simply jumped into action. So the arrest confused Todd because the 2023 law obviously says that you can kill a bear in self-defense. Okay, if it's reasonable, if you have reasonable belief the bear has entered the premises, is going to inflict bodily harm to another human, injure or kill a person, or injure or kill a pet. Okay, they had a dog, or entered a building occupied by people. So they were all, in their house. They entered the building, got within feet of his children, and he shot off. And he didn't even really want to kill the bear. I mean, I love bears. I love animals. However, this is a intense animal who could maul your this thing could maul your children. So he fires the gun. Okay. So now 3 Republican senators are seeking clarification from Democrat-run agency, Connecticut agency. It's called DEEP for short. It's the Department of Energy Environmental Protection. 3 Republican senators are wanting clarification on this. Why'd you arrest him? Okay, why'd you do this? They want clarification on the matter, though they have let him kind of go. Todd Deep let Todd go, but they say that he has to participate in an accelerated rehabilitation program for first-time offenders. And if he completes it, he won't get arrested. Okay, so they kind of let him go, but he's got to complete this rehabilitation program. Otherwise, they're going to rearrest him and charge him. So this is absolutely wild. Rehabilitation for what? Being a man? I mean, that's really what it is. It's an attack on masculinity, and it's trying to cure him of his manly instinct to do whatever it takes to save your kids and your pregnant wife from being mauled by a bear. And this probably wouldn't even be happening if this deep agency, now I don't even know about this, I'd have to dig into it. I guarantee that they've got laws about hunting, and there should be a bear season. If they're really prevalent there, as this, local news had said, they're prevalent. That seems like it's getting out of hand. They're going to be going around warning people, be bear aware. We should have a bear season, okay, in Connecticut. That's what should happen, where hunters are encouraged even to go and hunt bears during this time frame. Okay, a bear season. Keep the population down. I mean, that's the way it should go. I mean, that would prevent things like this from even happening. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. We're going to be right back with more news. I do want to get to... Oh gosh, what are we gonna get to first? Let's get to this woman, Nina Jankowicz. I told you that I wanted to get to her. Do you guys remember her? throw it in the comment section if you do remember Nina Jankowicz. Nina Jankowicz was going to be the disinformation czar who headed up the Ministry of Truth, which just sounds so Orwellian, doesn't it? Under the Biden administration. But of course, that faced a ton of backlash, and they never went through with the Ministry of Truth or implementing this agency. The Biden administration, that is, and they never went through with it because it received so much backlash, and because this woman is an actual nut. And people started to post her TikToks online. Hold on, let me show you. You guys are gonna get a kick out of this one. I've shared this. I remember when the Ministry of Truth was being talked about, being implemented, or possibly being implemented. I played this clip. This is Nina Jankowicz. And like I said earlier in the show, the people in the public sector, people who get this disinformation czar, the Kamala Harris's of the world, I can guarantee you that they were the weirdos who never really participated in gym class, and they just sat in like a corner and talked to themselves. And this is the revenge of the nerds, is what we're starting to see happen. They're upset because they didn't include themselves. Okay. They wanted to be outcast, they wanted to be different, and they ultimately entered the public sector. And they were the weird theater kids, as I would like to say it. So take a listen to this. Here we go.
Information laundering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared bad intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh, information law.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, throw it in the comment section. How creepy is this woman? Throw it in the comment section. I'm going to say 10. I would not want her around my children. I would not want to spend 5 minutes with this woman. She freaks me out. You know who she kind of reminds me of? Who's that Harry Potter character? I forget. Pygmy? No. The woman who dresses in pink. What's her name? Ministry of Magic bureaucrat. Oh, what is her name? Umbridge. That's it. Professor Umbridge. Hold on. You guys know who this is, right? Professor Umbridge. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. You guys are gonna love it. Sorry. I need to show you guys this because this is just wild to me. Come on. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. Okay, here we go. Let me look this up. Here we go. You guys will like this. Professor Umbridge. This is the woman that has like the pink color, Dolores Umbridge. She's the antagonist in the Harry Potter series. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, let me take this down. Here we go. Yep. Okay, I just wanted to show you who I'm talking about. Like, doesn't she remind you of this woman here? Like, come on. Like, 100%. She reminds me of this woman. All right, so we're going to be back. We're going to talk about Nina Jankowicz because she's back. She's asking the European Union to stop Donald Trump, or to be the line of defense against disinformation, misinformation, what she deems to be disinformation or misinformation, of course. So we're going to get to that. We're also going to get to Dwight Schrute. Rainn Wilson is calling out the media for sucking straight to MSNBC's Stephanie Rule's face. So he says, the mainstream media should have done a better job of covering, Joe Biden's mental health decline. They also should have done a better job about the border crisis and reporting on this border crisis. And nobody takes the mainstream media seriously anymore. Dwight Schrute talks about that. Dwight Schrute being Rainn Wilson, the actor who's notorious for being a liberal. And even he's calling out the media for sucking so bad. So we're going to get to that as well. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk blue to normal. So do appreciate you tuning in. Before I took the break, I was telling you about Joe Biden's anti-American disinformation czar. She's resurfaced now. Her name is Nina Jankowicz. You guys remember her? She's urging the European Union to resist Donald Trump and free speech. So we're going to get to her. We're even going to get to Dwight Schrute. Have you guys watched The Office? It's a very popular show. I love that show. Dwight Schrute is my favorite character in that show, but he's an extreme liberal. The Rainn Wilson, he's an extreme liberal actor, notorious for being a liberal. He's actually come out now and started calling out the media for their lies and how they didn't cover Joe Biden accurately and his presidency accurately. And this is why people don't trust the mainstream news anymore. And he says this straight to MSNBC's Stephanie Rule's face. Like, hey, nobody covered, Joe Biden's border crisis accurately, and nobody covered his cognitive decline, his clear cognitive decline. So we're going to get to that. Dwight Schrute even calling out the media for sucking. We're going to get to that. Once upon a time, there was a president. Okay, so come on, gather the kids. Sit down at the dinner table, gather the kids. It's story time. Once upon a time, there was a president, and his name was Joe Biden. He appointed a disinformation czar. Her name was Nina Jankowicz. She disappeared for a short while after the Democrat Party and the billionaires who control the Democrat Party. They wanted to control what was allowed and not allowed on social media, on Facebook, and people were really upset that they wanted to control pretty much the First Amendment, and that clashed with the First Amendment right. They wanted to control what was said on social media, and people didn't like that. Nina Jankowicz is now back. She hid into her hidey hole for a little while, but she has resurfaced in Europe. She's attacking the president and calling on the European Union to hold the line against freedom of speech, free speech. And she says, hey, you need to police speech and you need to deem things misinformation, disinformation. In case you forgot who this woman is, take a listen. This is one of my favorite musical numbers ever. It's grand. It's beautiful. She just hits all of the notes. This is Nina Jankowicz.
Wandering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound precocious by saying them in Congress or a mainstream outlet. So disinformation's origins are slightly less atrocious. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. It's how you hide a little lie. When Rudy Giuliani shared that intel from Ukraine, or when TikTok influencers say COVID can cause pain, they're laundering disinfo, and we really should take note and not support their lies with our wallet, voice, or vote. Oh.
Okay. You know how I always say this? The people in the public sector, people who get these silly little jobs, Kamala Harris, people who head up these agencies, at least under the Biden administration, these were the losers in high school. These were the people who didn't want to participate in gym class, and they hid over in the corner and then they sang show tunes. They grew up and now they're taking revenge and they are taxing you into oblivion, and they're trying to get a revenge on you for being a winner. They're losers. Okay, so this was Nina Jankowicz, and oh man, I don't know about you, but that's my favorite musical number ever. So essentially what she means by disinformation here is anything that she doesn't agree with. Okay, so she actually spreads disinformation all the time. I'll get to that here in just a second. But the Disinformation Board was actually shut down. So they wanted to call this, very Orwellian, the Ministry of Truth, and they wanted her to be the disinformation czar. And they wanted to create this pretty much government agency it sounds so Orwellian, the Ministry of Truth. You know who she reminds me of? She reminds me of Professor Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. She's the antagonist in Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I've watched it a few times, a couple of times. My brother really was into it when we were young kids. And she reminds me of this woman where she's dressed in the pink and, she has Harry Potter say, "I shall not tell lies, I shall not tell lies," and writes it down and it like scars his hand. It's really interesting. Like, she just reminds me so much of this woman. So now she's resurfaced, folks. She was in Europe, and she was, speaking at to the European Union, and she wants them to be the line of defense against freedom of speech. Take a listen. Here we go.
And hateful content. Their executives, some of the richest men in the world, have aligned and ingratiated themselves with some Western leaders, including the US president, not for the good of representative democracy, but for their personal enrichment. Anti-democratic regimes in Russia, China, Iran, and elsewhere are taking advantage of this environment, launching interference campaigns that aim to undermine the democratic process with little pushback. And homegrown anti-democratic forces have launched a coordinated campaign to undermine researchers, journalists, advocates, and civil servants who work to expose their lies. The confluence of these forces has hobbled some democracies' responses to the strategic threat that we are here to discuss today, Russian hybrid threats. Just last week in the United States, Secretary of State Marco Rubio gleefully announced he was obliterating the office tasked with tracking and responding to foreign information manipulation and interference. Many other US government institutions have been similarly dismantled in the months since President Trump took office, all under the guise of protecting free speech and allegedly, quote, ending censorship. Now, the European Union has become the subject of the Trump administration and tech executives' ire, as it dares to implement the legislation that you, its duly elected representatives, drafted, debated, and passed on behalf of your constituents. The United States has now become the largest lobbyist for these multi-billion-dollar corporations and is harassing any nation or body that aims to conduct oversight or require transparency of them. Neither Washington nor the social media platforms it has captured are interested in preserving democracy. They are interested in maintaining their power and hoarding profits. And so, before I describe the details of Russia's recent online influence campaigns, I would like to call upon you to stand firm against another autocracy, the United States of America. The Trump administration is undoubtedly preparing a pressure campaign to force EU institutions to roll back regulation like the DSA, to end support for Ukraine, to stop holding Russia to account. Do not capitulate. Hold the line. Doing so is the clearest signal the European Union could send to Russia and other adversaries that it will not stop fighting to preserve democracy at home and around the world. The Russian Federation, of course, is thrilled to witness division within and between democracies. Moscow continues to actively exploit deepening fissures in our societies in order to amplify discord and polarization.
Okay, so let me sum this up. The Trump administration, they are preparing a pressure campaign to get the EU to abide by free speech. Okay, you know what European countries do? Do you know what they do? They arrest people for praying silently outside of abortion clinics. They arrest people for asking somebody to speak the language, the preferred language, which is English, okay, the primary language. In the UK, they just were going to arrest a man simply because he asked somebody to speak English. Like, hey, can you speak English? And they were going to arrest him for saying that. Like, I don't even understand how you could arrest somebody for simply just asking, hey, can you speak English? It's a yes or no question. If you can, awesome. Can you speak it for me so I can understand you? And if you can't, oh, well, thank you for answering my question. So They arrest people for praying silently outside of abortion clinics, all of that. So what the Trump administration is doing, they are trying to get they're pressuring the EU to roll back regulation like the DSA. She's talking about the Digital Services Act. Okay, this is a law used to where Europe can control what opinions are allowed on the internet. Okay. They can arrest you for memes. They have people arrested for causing what they call offensive. Okay. So if it's offensive to somebody on the internet, they can go and arrest you. Okay. If you share like a meme that's offensive, they'll go and arrest you in European countries. Okay. This is the Digital Services Act. And what the Trump administration is doing is trying to pressure the EU to roll that back and to get rid of it. She says, this is to end the support of Ukraine, and like this is going to end support of Ukraine because Russian disinformation is spreading rampantly online. Freedom of speech, I think, definitely takes precedent over, some Russian propaganda. Like, yes, there's going to be Russian propaganda online. There's going to be Chinese propaganda online. There's going to be all kinds of propaganda online. But to control people and what they think and say, the citizenry, and really they're using this as a cop out as to why they're as a reason to censor America or to censor people. Okay. In Europe. So she says that this is going to end support Ukraine. Zelensky's doing that all by himself. Thank you very much. Okay, so we really don't need to, get rid of so-called Russian disinformation because Zelensky is driving Ukraine into the ground itself. It doesn't matter how much Russian propaganda is out there. He's a terrible leader, and he's not doing what's right for his country. And if we get rid of the DSA, this is what she claims, we're going to stop holding Russia accountable. She said this in Europe, where they fund Russia. So I want to be very clear about something here. Getting rid of Russian disinformation or Russian propaganda, whatever, on the internet doesn't hold Russia account as much as it would if they were to stop funding Russia by relying on Russian energy. Okay, in Europe, other countries as well, Germany, they all rely on Russia for their energy. And if you really want to stick it to Russia and give them, the finger, right? What you really want to do is you want to stop relying on Russian energy and produce your own energy, or get your energy not from your foreign adversary, but from allies like America. And she just got out there and encouraged Europe to pretty much sever ties with the United States of America and to be mean to the ally that would probably provide them energy and not Russia. We would probably be an energy exporter if they were to decide to not get all of their Russian their energy from Russia and fund Russia by relying on their energy. Donald Trump not virtue signaling about Putin, who is evil. I want to be very clear about that. It isn't what holds him accountable. Okay. So just because he's not like Joe Biden and gets on the microphone and screams about how Putin is a dictator, Putin is a dictator. How many times did we hear that while Joe Biden was president? That doesn't do anything. Okay. It's literally virtue signaling. It doesn't do anything. It sounds tough, but you're not actually tough against Russia. What would be tough against Russia would be to become energy independent. And if they really don't like their foreign adversary, Russia, the European Union, what they need to do is stop relying on their energy, be friends with the United States, and do what the United States asks of them, okay, which is to not censor their people. So that way we can become the energy exporters to Europe. You really want to give Russia the finger? Stop relying on their energy. Ash. Okay, so she says, hold the line. Doing so is the clear signal the European this is what she says, doing so is the clear signal the European could send to Russia and other adversaries that it'll not stop fighting to preserve democracy at home and around the world. Oh, this is not the clear signal. The clear signal would be, stop funding Russia and their entire existence by solely relying on Russian energy. Let's start there, shall we? Canceling pro-Putin memes on the internet that people share isn't going to oh, that really is going to show Russia. Stop it. Stop it. Okay. This, for many reasons, Nina Jankowicz was actually going to be the disinformation czar here in America and lead the Ministry of Truth, which sounds Orwellian, by the way, for the people who controlled Joe Biden, because let's face it, Joe Biden wasn't actually running things. We were this close to having her come into power here in America and have power in America. This is one of the main reasons why Joe Biden, or the people who ran Kamala Harris later, that's why they didn't win in 2024 November. This is one of the reasons why, because they actually wanted to censor Americans with this woman, Nina Jankowicz, who's clearly mentally unstable. Judging by that video I just played for her singing the Mary Poppins show tunes. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, I get irritable listening to these people. Exactly. I mean, she's an idiot. Like, are you kidding me? You've got to be idiotic to say that this is the clearest way for us to show or to hold Russia accountable and show them that we are pro-democracy and we're not going to let them, trample all over our democracy. You want to know what would be the clearest way? Stop funding Russia. Stop giving your money all to Russia for their energy. Okay, you want to become energy dependent or befriend the United States and do what the United States wants, which is simply just to get rid of this one legislation that has proven to be problematic for your residents, the European residents, and Americans as well. It gives them the right to the Digital Services Act. It gives them the right, or gives them the opportunity to arrest people for sharing memes online. Like, that's literally what they're doing with this Digital Services Act. It's all facade to go after Russian propaganda. That's not the problem. What's going on is they are using the Disinformation Services Act, or the Digital Services Act, DSA, the European Union, to go after law-abiding citizens in their countries, or in Europe, on this continent. So, that's what's going on here, Europe, the country. So we're going to take a quick break. I've got to take a sip of coffee, and we're going to be right back. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. When we come back, we are going to be talking about Rainn Wilson. I love Dwight Schrute from The Office. He does a great job in that show. It's a very popular show, but I want to be clear, this guy's a liberal. So him saying these things it should tell you something. It really should tell you something. So Rainn Wilson calls out the mainstream media. For the past 4 years, the same people who insisted that Joe Biden was more than just a sleeping potato also claimed that inflation was a myth, that there was no border crisis. They blamed Trump for the worst border crisis in American history, by the way, by saying, like, remember that bill that they had introduced, and they were like, oh, Trump got the Republicans to shut down this bipartisan bill. Really what it was enshrining illegal immigration into law. That's what that bill was. So then they turned around and called Trump literally Hitler, okay, the mainstream media. And, they've got record low approval ratings. The Americans don't trust anything that the mainstream media, they are more distrustful of the media now than they ever have been. And this is exactly why it's not hard for Rainn Wilson to call them out on all of that. It's because the majority of Americans believe the media is distrustful, and they don't approve of the mainstream media. So we're going to get to this. According to the New York Post, Rainn Wilson, who played the ambitious Dwight Schrute in the hit show The Office, voiced complaints to her face, Stephanie Ruhle. So she's an MSNBC anchor, and they were doing an interview on his podcast. It's called Soul Boom. I didn't know that he had a podcast. Interesting. But he said that, left-wing outlets like MSNBC, they're in denial that their coverage is unbiased, okay, because clearly they were very flattering to Joe Biden and not Donald Trump, okay, in their coverage. They didn't cover Joe Biden's immigration crisis, the border crisis. They also didn't cover Joe Biden's mental cognitive decline. So yeah, we're going to get to that. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Next week, you won't want to miss it. We are going to be doing interview after interview after interview with residents from the Shelbourne Beach area. There's this subdivision there. It's an Essex housing project. Collie Ridge is where they reside, and they're upset with this multifamily housing project being smack dab right in the heart of their community, and it's going to disrupt the tranquility and the peace that they have there in that neighborhood. And they're against the housing project. So we're going to be listening to them all next week. Woo! Hey, smash that like button, share it on social media. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. You guys are going to want to go there. Next week, you won't want to miss a single show, because around 7 a.m. every single day next week, early next week, so April 28th, 29th, 30th, I'm going to have some Collie Ridge residents. The Collie Ridge residents are upset, and I would be upset too if they were going to disrupt my peaceful lifestyle, going to increase traffic, definitely crime probably in this area. It's going to disrupt this neighborhood. It was zoned originally for single family use, but it was abruptly rezoned for multifamily housing. There is an Essex housing project. I guess the developer won't meet with the residents. We're going to meet with the residents, and we're going to blast it out there that there is opposition to this housing project. Okay. And the leadership, they better listen. We're going to make them listen. Okay, so don't want to miss any of that next week. We're going to have some residents from the area join the program. I do want to get to this, Rainn Wilson. Do you guys know who Rainn Wilson is? He's the guy who plays Dwight Schrute on the hit show The Office. I don't know if you guys watched it, but for the last 4 years, the mainstream media tried to convince us that Joe Biden was more than just a sleeping potato. And they tried to convince us that inflation was a myth and that there was no border crisis, and that actually Trump was the reason why there was a border crisis. Remember the bill where they were like, oh, well, he got Republicans to vote down this bipartisan bill. The bill would have enshrined into law illegal immigration. It would have allowed for like thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants to cross the border illegally every single year, and they'd get automatic citizenship without any kind of vetting process. So yes, the Republicans were against that, and yes, Donald Trump was against that, but he didn't shut down the bill. The Republicans shut down the bill because it was a bad bill. Okay, so and then they turn around and call Trump literally Hitler, which is just bogus. And they're at record low approval ratings. The mainstream media, I don't think I have to tell you that. You don't trust the media. That's why you're listening to this program. Alternative media, they're mainstream, and the mainstream media is just distrustful. American people, they disapprove of the mainstream media, okay? And this is why it's not hard for Rainn Wilson, who is notorious liberal, like definitely liberal. So him saying this is a big deal. let's take a listen. He actually was on his podcast. I guess it's called Soul Boom. I didn't know he had a podcast, but he played Dwight Schrute in this hit show, and he was talking with the MSNBC anchor Stephanie Ruhle in an interview. And he said left-wing outlets like NBC were in denial, and their coverage of Joe Biden, you know, they were flattering to Joe Biden, and they did not scrutinize his mental fitness in any kind of way. So take a listen.
40% of Americans don't trust mainstream media. Why is that? How did we get here?
Listen, we are seeing a huge loss in trust of all of our institutions. It's the media, it's medicine, it's banking. It's a huge problem because when you think about democracy and all of these pillars, they need to stand tall, they need to stand strong. And sort of losing that trust is not by accident, it's by design. If you remember when President Trump was running the first time, Steve Bannon once said, the goal is to blow the whole thing up. And so I think that you've got mistakes made or things starting to slip, while at the same time, there's a concerted effort to destroy the media. Because the media, the news media is, in my opinion, the last line of defense of holding power accountable, right? And you had a bit of a perfect storm, right? President Trump won, and tons of people were shocked or angry or frustrated, and they're tuning out. And at the same time, you have the Elon Musk media machine, because they want you to leave traditional media and they want you to go to X, which is a bastion of misinformation where there is no fact checking. So it's a perfect storm of people saying, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tuning out, I'm disconnecting. And then you have a force pushing it. But even in the last 2 weeks, what we need to do is just cover what's happening in America, right? We have to cover Democrats trying to figure out what their lane is and how they're going to get back on their feet. And we have to simply cover what this White House is doing. And I think if we do that, right, there's that saying, you know, trust is gained in raindrops and it's lost in buckets. And it's not yes, you're not incorrect that the media has lost trust.
This is where I would push back. When I see this kind of insight and passion being directed at the current administration, and the lack of this kind of insight and passion being directed at the previous administration, where, again, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about left-leaning news media organizations were kind of like, la, 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 everything's fine. Look, the environment's, look, the economy's great, la, 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 immigration's not that much of a problem. And really being Cleopatra, queen of denial. Thank you. Boom.
I would push back on immigration.
Okay, so I got to take a quick break, but we're going to be back. I'm going to break this down. Rainn Wilson essentially saying that, hey, they were in denial. I would push back on that and say that it wasn't really about denial, these left-wing outlets. It was done on purpose. I would say that this was done on purpose. They single-handedly labeled anyone who questioned Joe Biden's mental health and competence as a conspiracy theorist. Anybody who questioned the efficacy of the vaccines or questioned the necessity of masking, they labeled them as conspiracy theorists, and they were running damage control for a sleeping potato, Joe Biden. And I don't think that was denial. I think that it was malicious, and I think that it was intentional. So I wouldn't agree with Rainn Wilson here. I don't think it was denial. I think it was intentional because they are an arm of the Democratic Party. I'll be right back. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Yes, so that was Rainn Wilson. You guys know him from The Office, Dwight Schrute. I don't know if you guys watch. It's one of my. It's actually my ringtone. It's one of my favorite shows. It's hilarious. If it were to air today, it would be canceled 100%. Harry Potter, Office. I'm really not that big of a TV person. I really don't watch like TV. I don't have time. I'm so focused and dialed in on the news, but I have watched Harry Potter a little bit when I was growing up. My brother really liked it. So Professor Umbridge and Nina Jankowicz, you can't convince me that they're not the same person. Rainn Wilson, he's talking about denial here. So right there he goes, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about left-leaning news media organizations. Okay, well, that's MSNBC. She's an anchor for MSNBC. They're a left-leaning organization. You are talking to her, Rainn. Just be honest. Okay, right? Just say it like it is. Don't skirt around it, okay? Because you've got something really good here, and you're right. The la 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 la, everything's fine. The economy is great. La 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 la, immigration not that bad, not that big of a problem, and you guys were the queen of denial. Like I said, I don't think it was denial. I think they were intentionally trying to deceive and gaslight American people onto the side of the Democrat Party, because the mainstream media cares more about being politically correct and being on the side of the Democrat Party than they do about journalistic ethics. And they do this at the expense of being factually correct. They will do whatever it takes to uplift to the Democrat Party, because they are an arm of the Democrat Party, or at least the establishment. And they will be factually incorrect as long as it is politically correct. And to come out and try to justify it all by claiming ignorance or denial or whatever, like, no. You guys said that inflation was a myth. You guys said that this president was not senile, and it was a total disingenuous lie, and you guys were intentionally lying because you were carrying water for the Democrat Party. And this summarizes essentially why the left lost the election. So I want to get to one more clip. This is Tom from the Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, the president. This is a good clip, so I'm going to get to this clip. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, guys, if you subscribe. And we're back in just about 10 seconds. So I want to play this clip from Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. Yeah, you were not a conspiracy theorist for simply asking if Joe Biden was senile or not, or asking if the COVID vaccines were efficient. Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Rainn Wilson. He was actually calling out left-leaning organizations to MSNBC anchors face Stephanie Ruhle, her face, during an interview on his podcast called Soul Boom. I played the podcast. I want to break this down. Left-wing outlets like MSNBC, they were not in denial. They did this intentionally. They were favorably covering Joe Biden. They told everybody who thought Joe Biden's mental fitness was not good, or questioned the efficacy of the COVID vaccines, or said that illegal immigration was getting out of hand. Anybody who said any of that, they were deemed conspiracy theorists. Okay, and they now are overly negative on the Trump administration in the White House for silly things like that leak in the group chat or whatever. Pete Hegseth, they've been really going after Pete Hegseth over this stupid little thing. It wasn't even that big of a deal. And now they're like, oh, you're cutting Medicaid. Oh, relax, lady. We are simply getting rid of the bloat. We're getting rid of the abuse and the fraud within the Medicaid system, which is long overdue. But anyway, here's Tom Fitton. I want to play this clip real quick. Here we go.
Of the Biden White House showing a concerted effort, in my view, to cover up his dementia. I know American citizens had been concerned about Biden's cognitive challenges that were quite evident. It led to a coup against him, but it also helped protect him from prosecution, because Special Counsel Robert Hur, who was investigating his mishandling, lies, and theft of classified information, found that his responses and his interviews with him, or interview, suggested he didn't know what he was saying or doing, that he had a failing memory and no one was going to convict him on it.
Okay, so you guys remember that, the classified document scandal. They didn't convict him on the classified document scandal because there was an actual ruling that said that, hey, we don't even think that he knew that he took the document, or he's capable of understanding that he's committed a crime here, so we're not going to prosecute him. And they were gaslighting the American people, the mainstream media, okay? They were carrying water for the Democrat Party. The media cares more about being politically correct than factually correct. And it wasn't denial. It wasn't denial. They disingenuously lied about the president's senile behavior. They lied about record inflation. They lied about the open border crisis. And to summarize, that's why they lost the election. And Rainn Wilson clearly agrees that, hey, there is a distrust, and it is a distrust rooted in legitimacy. Okay, the American people are right to distrust the American media, mainstream media. You guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye. I love you. Cities99.com. Head over there. Our Steals and Deals goes live today, 9 a.m. You guys are going to click on Steals and Deals when you go to cities929.com. Click on the logo, then you can steal your deal today. Also, check out our Caribbean cruise stops, deluxe Caribbean cruise that we are giving away. We're going to be doing cruise stops throughout the spring. Bye-bye. You have a blessed day. We'll see you on Monday.